Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cooper of Cooper's Mobile Mechanics, and hopefully the sound quality is a little bit better because I got myself a new microphone. So it's actually Tuesday today. Yesterday I didn't do any filming, one because I didn't have my microphone, and also it was really windy, so I did try doing a little bit, but you just couldn't hear anything. It was so windy you couldn't hear a single thing, so I just cracked on with what I needed to do really. Just to update you with what I did do yesterday, so I had a couple of diagnosis jobs. So I had a Skoda Octavia, that was for a non-start. It turns out I needed the fuel pump relay, so I just need to go and replace that. I sort of diagnosed it, but couldn't get a fuel pump relay on the day, so just ordered that, and then I'm going to head over there probably tomorrow to go Thursday, so I'm going to go and do that. And then I had another one with a Ford Mondeo. He needs a new rear brake caliper because that's completely seized up. Then I was having a look at the Seat Leon from last week, the one where I did all the radiators and the sump and everything. So he had the car for a couple of days, and then he messaged me just to say there was a bit of a coolant leak from it. So I've taken that back again, and I saw that it was leaking from on the bottom pipe. You've got the coolant temperature sensor. So when it took the impact, I think the sensor got pushed over, and it's got like a U-shaped clip that holds it in. That was all bent. It's just something I didn't pick up on the day when I went to go and look at it first. So yeah, I've just put a new clip on there, new seal, and then last night I took it for did about 30 miles worth of driving on it. I've pressure tested it, and it seems to have sorted it. So yeah, I think I might just take that for another drive at some point, just to be 100% sure that it's not leaking anymore, and then I'll give it back to him later on, hopefully tonight. The first job this morning is on this Kia Picanto. It's just for a very basic service, so just doing the oil and filter and the cabin filter. The car's still under warranty, so we'll be using genuine parts. And then after this I've got a Renault Capture, that's for a service and a brake fluid change as well. And then I've got a Mini for a crankshaft pulley, auxiliary belt. And then she did say about a battery as well, but then she's messaged me yesterday saying that she doesn't think she does need a battery. And then she said she's given me a whole list of other bits that she wanted looking at as well while I'm there, but I said to her, chances are I'm probably going to have to rebook that now because we've obviously allocated a certain amount of time to do the work that she asked for originally. So we might have to go back another point to go and have a look at this. I think she was saying the convertible roof isn't working. It's got an oil leak, ABS light, traction control light on, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure exactly what I'm going to be doing later on. I know I'm doing the crankshaft pulley and the belt, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm maybe doing a battery in that as well. I'm not really sure at the minute. This Picanto is in really good condition overall. Not really surprising because it's only done about 15,000 miles. I'm just doing the cabin filter, which is tucked behind the glove box. So you just got to sort of push these tabs in either side to allow the glove box to drop. What I tend to do, just to stop everything from falling out, I just get the box of the pollen filter just to support it, and then see in there, and that's where the filter is. So you just got, there's two tabs. Let's stick my torch in here so you can see. There's two tabs just on the left there, look. Just squeeze that, get the panel off, and then we'll see what sort of condition this filter's in. Just squeeze those there. It's a nice dirty filter that is, look. You can see all the leaves in there. So that's basically, this is filtering the air that you're breathing into the cabin. So you can see it's not been changed for quite a while. Let's see if it's got a date on there. No, I don't think it does. It looks quite old anyway. So I don't know when the last time this was changed. I serviced this last year. The pollen filter, according to the age and mileage, the pollen filter wasn't due then, so that's why I'm doing it this year. But that looks like it's been in there for quite a while, so I don't know if it's ever been changed, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'm just going to have a look, see if there's any more leaves and stuff in there. If there are, I'll obviously clean those all out, and then stick the new filter in. Got a new genuine Kia filter there to pop in. Right, so that Kia's all done. Absolutely fine, like I said, low mileage, so there's nothing wrong with it at all. So I'm a little bit ahead of schedule. So what I'm doing is taking this Seat Leon out for a drive, and then just make sure it's not losing any coolant. So like I said, I did about 20 miles last night, and then I'm going to do about 20 miles again now. Check the coolant level first before heading off, and then I'll check it again after the 20 miles, just make sure it hasn't dropped. And then hopefully, as long as that's all okay, then I can give it back to the customer. Right, another 20 miles done. So this is where I filled it to before anyway, just underneath sort of the seam with the bottle. Just filled it there, and it's not moved at all, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to just let the customer know, and then I'll drop the car off to them, organise doing that hopefully later on today. All right, so it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday lunchtime. This week has not been a particularly profitable week for me. So yesterday I said to you about that Mini. I was supposed to go and do a crankshaft pulley, a belt and a battery on this Mini. Drove to the customer's house. So I actually spoke to the customer Monday. She messaged me on Monday just to double check and make sure I was still coming over to do the works, which I said, yes, I am still coming over. She then said about all these other jobs that she needed looking at, oil leaks, convertible roof not opening, things like that, to which I said to her, I'm booked in to do the original work. That's all I've got time to do. And anything else, we're going to have to rebook for another time because I've already sort of filled out my diary and I've not got time to look at these extra bits. I didn't hear anything back from her. And then I messaged her yesterday, just giving her a heads up. It was about 11 o'clock. I messaged her and said, I'll be coming over. I should be with you about 2 o'clock to come and do the work. Didn't hear anything back from her, but kind of just assumed maybe she's busy, working, whatever. So I then drove to her house, which was about 35 minutes away from me. Got there, got to the address, and there's no answer at the door. There was no one at the house. The car wasn't there either, which is strange because the auxiliary belt had snapped and the crankshaft pulley needed replacing. So when she messaged me, obviously the car's not in a drivable state. So I got to the house and the car's not there, which kind of indicates to me maybe she's already had the work done by someone else. So I messaged her and said, I'm at the house, knocked on the door, there's no reply. The car's not here, just wondering what's going on. Didn't get any response, tried phoning her, no answer on the phone, and I've not heard anything since. So by the looks of it, she's just decided to just cancel the work off her own accord, decided she didn't want the work doing anymore. Maybe she's got the work done somewhere else, I don't know. But she didn't bother telling me, so she just allowed me to travel up there with about £300 worth of parts in my van that I've already bought. Travel half an hour there, half an hour back. So it's an hour of my time wasted, an afternoon that I've booked out that I could have given to someone else, because people have messaged me and wanted me to come and do work for them, and I've told them I haven't got time because I'm fully booked. That's time that I could have gone over and sorted someone else's car. But instead, selfishly, she just decided not to bother getting the work done, not to tell me that she didn't want to get the work done or anything like that. So that was good. So this morning I've serviced a Vauxhall Astra. That was all absolutely fine. And then I went over to go and do another job, which was some injector seals and trailing arm bushes and bits and pieces. But when I got there, the car, it's an old car. It's about 15 years old now, and it's done about 180,000 miles on it. When I got there, they were then saying about thinking about getting rid of the car. He said, I think I'm in an hour about getting rid of it and just getting the wife something else. So he said, if you see anything else on there that might be an issue, can you just sort of let me know? So I was having a look at it, and so the work that I was there to do, about £500 worth of work. When I was there, I noticed there was fuel around one of the injectors. So we're looking like potentially one of the injectors is leaking fuel as well. So that's going to be expensive. Replacing an injector on one of those is probably going to be about £400 or £500 just for the part. And they had a fault with the automatic gearbox as well. It went into limp mode, had a fault. I think they managed to limp it to another garage. They were unsure because they said they don't really deal with automatic boxes too much. So I think they just erased the fault and said if it comes back on, just let us know. So I've had a look into that, and we just had a bit of a chat and said that obviously the work that we're initially supposed to be doing today, it was about £500, and then if it needs an injector, if it ends up having any sort of problem with the gearbox, things like that, it's going to get expensive. And if he's already thinking of getting rid of the car anyway, there's no point spending the money on the car, is there? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to do the work and take the money, of course, but they're like, there's no point in just chucking money at a car that's ultimately you're probably just going to end up getting rid of anyway. Is there? The fairest thing for me to do, I think, is just to be honest with them and just say it looks like potentially you're going to be throwing a lot of money into this car, and if you're thinking of getting rid of it anyway, then you're wasting your money, which he was in agreement with. So yeah, we just agreed, just leave the work that I was going to be doing today, leave any of the additional work, and I think he's just going to start having a look at another car. So I'm left with the afternoon now just to do nothing. So, well, not nothing. I mean, I've got jobs to price up and invoices to send and all that sort of thing. There are things I can do, but yeah, though I don't mind. Yesterday really annoyed me. Like, it really did annoy me. I think it's just common courtesy just to let someone know if you don't want the work doing, just tell them. Don't allow someone to waste their time, because it's just rude, isn't it? Today I don't mind so much because, like I say, it was a mutual sort of agreement to not do the work just because of financially it just didn't make sense for him to do it, I think, which I'm fine with. Like I say, I'd rather be honest with him. So yeah, tomorrow I've got a timing belt to do on a Volkswagen Polo, and then I've just got a relay to replace on the Skoda Octavia that I looked at. I think it was Monday I looked at for the non-start. It's got relay to replace on there. And then Friday I've got, what have I got? I think I've got a service in the morning. I've got a Mazda 2 from last week to replace a battery and a front spring. I've got the Volkswagen T5 again from last week for the front disc and pads and a caliper. And then I've got a Ford Focus to have a look at with a handbrake, electronic parking brake that's not releasing. Sometimes when you press the button, just on the driver's side, it's not releasing, I think. So yeah, just going to do a bit of diagnosis into that. Okay, Thursday morning, I've got a Volkswagen Polo for a timing belt. So I've got a INA timing belt kit and a Bosch auxiliary belt to do. Now this one's slightly different to a lot of timing belts because you don't have to do the water pump on this one. So on most engines, the water pump is driven by the timing belt. So when you take the timing belt off, usually replace the water pump there because you're there anyway. You might as well. So it just basically saves you money in the long run. With these engines, you've got your timing belt on this side, but then the water pump is actually on the other side of the engine down here. So there's no need to replace that because it's completely separate to the timing belt. So to start with, what I'm going to do is basically want to get the upper timing cover off. So there's some of these pipes out the way here, and then back here is where I want to be locking the cams on the back. So again, get the pipe work all off, and then there's a cover back here as well, so that I can fit the camshaft locking tool here. Then when I've done all that, I can get everything off down the bottom. Okay, so we've got the cover off this side, and then we've got everything off all around here, so that we've now got access to the back of the cams. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn the engine over. Down on the bottom, you've got a crankshaft locking tool. So basically wind it in, turn the engine over until it stops up against there. And you basically want this to be lined up flat so that you can get the tool locked into there, and then it also locks into this one as well, so it keeps the two cams locked up. Crank pulley, is not going anywhere because it's pushed up against that tool. And then what I do sometimes as well, just to help me a little bit, just give me a bit more confirmation that everything's okay, you can just put some little paint marks on the camshaft sprockets, maybe stick it on the tooth here, and there's a little paint mark on there. Again, it should be okay with all your tools locked up in place and everything, then it should be absolutely fine. But I'll say it's just one more extra little bit of confirmation that you've got everything locked up and timed up where it should be. And then when you put the new belt on and everything, obviously you've got your tools in there, but you've also got your paint marks as well that you can line up as well. So we've got the crankshaft locking pin wound in at the back of the engine here, and then I essentially just need to turn this over to there. You can see there, can't go any further. And then at the back here, you can see you've got a cutout there, and on the top of this pulley there's a little hole, look. So with this tool, it will lock in place that bit will lock into here. So I'll pop it in like that, and then just put one bolt to hold it in place there. And then see that little hole here will go into there, put a little pin in, and that will lock that in place then. So with everything locked up, got the tensioner down there. So just want to do that 13mm bolt and then push the tensioner over, and then I should be able to get the belt out. And then I can swap over the tensioner. There's an idler roller down the bottom there as well that I want to swap over. Well, that's the first. Usually with these belts, you don't have to take the engine mount and everything off. You can usually get the tensioner off. You've got this long spanner that reaches down there in order to tension it up. You can usually undo the bolt, and then the tensioner will drop down the bottom. But with this particular one, the bracket has got a bit sticking out here, and I couldn't get the tensioner downwards. So I've just ended up taking the engine mount off, push the alternator over that way a little bit, and then just taking the whole engine mount bracket off just enough so that I can get the tensioner out. But to be fair, for the 5 minutes it just took to get this off, it's probably going to make my life a little bit easier. So I think I could potentially just start doing that going forward with these belts. But yeah, it's weird because I've never had to do that before. But this bracket, let's say that bit sticking out there, was just stopping it from dropping down. Alright, cool. That's all done. Just had it running up for quite a while. Checked the fault memory after. Everything's absolutely fine there. So everything left to do now is take for a road test. Right, so I'm now back at the Skoda Octavia from Monday. It's the non-start. So what I found down here, it had a fault for the fuel pump relay. When I took the relay out, you can see there it's all corroded and burnt out. Now, if you look, quite hard to see in there to be fair with the camera, but you've got 3 relays that are the same. So my idea was to swap them over, just initially, just see if I can get it started. I did that once and it still didn't work, but I noticed that both of them were corroded, and they actually corroded in the pins here going into the box. And then I swapped it with another one, which I believe is for the horn. Swapped that over and the car fired up. So it obviously needs the relay for the fuel pump, but what I'm going to do is actually replace all 3 of these relays, and I'm going to clean up all inside, get all the corrosion, everything out of there, because although, let's say, I think it was this one, kind of hard to know because I've swapped them around a few times, but pretty sure this is the one for the fuel pump that was faulty. And then that was one of them, which you can see there, that's all corroded and burnt out, and then that's just starting to burn out as well. So if I just, while I'm here, for the sake of the cost of another relay, which they're really not expensive at all, might as well just change all 3 and obviously clean up all in here, just sort of prevent any further problems down the line. So it's Friday morning. I'm at my first job. It's a Fiat 500X diesel version for some diagnosis. So saying the coil light is intermittently, she said it's struggling to start sometimes, coil light's coming on as well. So the engine management light is on, but she said that's been on for a long time. It's actually, well, I'm going to look at both, but it's the coil light that she's most concerned about. But I just want to show you potentially the easiest diagnosis I've ever had. So we've got a couple of faults stored. One for the lambda sensor, that would be causing the engine management light. So I am going to have a look at that and just let her know. Also, there's a fault there for glow plug on cylinder 1, saying open circuit. So I just popped the bonnet open and had a look at the glow plugs. First thing I noticed was that glow plug looks like it's been replaced before. So when you compare it to the others, it looks quite new. So I've just got the connector. It's barely even on there, so that'll be the cause of the open circuit. So literally just need to pop that back on properly, and then that should sort out that fault. So I've moved on to the lambda sensor fault now. It's the sensor before the cat. So the fault on there is for an open circuit, and the first thing I've done is check the resistance of the sensor itself. So I've gone down, so I've measured between pins 3 and 4 checking the resistance there, looking for a value between 2 and 5 ohms, but when I'm checking it, I'm getting 0 ohms, so there's no resistance there at all. So it's outside of the range, the tolerance that you're looking for. So I'm going to price up this sensor. I've obviously put the connector onto the glow plug properly. I'll price up this sensor, as that'll need changing as well. That should get rid of the engine management light. That connector being on properly should get rid of the glow plug light and the sort of starting issues in the morning. And hopefully that should be running nicely then. Now with the Mazda 2 from last week, this one that I serviced last week, Spider's got a broken coil spring on the front, so I'm just here to replace that, and also I'll be replacing the battery. So for this one, basically just need to get the brake hose off here, get this ABS sensor out of there, get the top nut for the drop link off, and then I've just got nut and bolt there and there, so the hub will sort of tilt forward. And I can get the shock out once I've got 1, 2, 3 nuts to take out there. So pretty straightforward on one of these, to be honest. Right, so the strut's out, so I'll just need to take this nut out here for the top mount. I actually think I'll really need to use a spring compressor to get it off. Obviously going to need to use it to get the new spring on. I should just be able to take that nut off and take it all apart at the minute. Well, so now I've got the new spring, so make a spring compressor. I think I've shown you before what I usually do with this as well. Just get a little strap, put it around the spring and onto the spring compressor as well, just in case it does slip out of here. Instead of just completely flying forwards, it should, in theory, be held in here. So I just need to compress the spring enough so I can get the shock and everything top mount on there and bolted up. That's looking better, look. Much better. So everything's all bolted in at the top. Obviously you just need to take it for a drive, but before that I'll replace the battery. Again, nice straightforward battery to replace. Get the terminals off. I've just got this bracket along here with 10mm, whip that off and pull the battery out and swap it over. Alright, last show of the week, I'm back with the T5 from last week for the front disc and pads and caliper on the passenger side. So what I've already done for this, I've clamped off the flexi hose, and then I've also cracked off the hose from the caliper while it's all in situ. So obviously it's a hell of a lot easier to do that now rather than taking the caliper off and kind of juggling around holding onto the caliper while also trying to crack that off. So what I essentially need to do now is whip these out, and then behind here you've got your 7mm Allen key sockets to go in there, one there, one down here, and then I can get the caliper off, swap the caliper over, and then just new set of disc and pads really. So you've got a nice big bolt on there, retaining screw holding the disc on, and then back here you've got 21mm bolts I think holding the carrier on. So then it's just a standard process really, getting the carrier off, give it all a nice good clean up and everything, grease the pads, make sure everything's all moving nice and smoothly, and then just taking it for a road test after. So the reason we're changing it over, in case you didn't see last week's video, is because the piston in the caliper is all seized up. You can tell here by the redness on the disc, it's all overheated basically. So he got in touch with me because he said it was really hot and he could smell it. So I came back, tried to push the piston back. You could kind of get it back a little bit, but it was really tight. So you have to come over with a new caliper and then disc and pads. Like I said, it's just the usual straightforward swap over on these. Well, that's this side all done with the new caliper. So just need to do the other side, and then once I've done that side, I'll come round and bleed this caliper. So I've had it clamped from about there. So chances are I'm probably going to get air from here. Obviously the caliper is going to be full of air, so it shouldn't really take too long to bleed it out, to be honest. Well, so that's all done. Road tested, all good, absolutely fine. And that was the last job of the week, so that is the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Hopefully you found it interesting, or maybe you've learned something. If you have enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, share it around with your friends if they haven't seen it before. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.